Hey, welcome back to Dan's Chess Lounge, everyone. I hope you're doing well. So today I'm going to be covering round 2 of the FIDE World Cup. So the top players in the world, the top 50, they all got a bye in the first round and got to go straight into the second round. So this is going to be an exciting round to cover. So I was looking at the event location and I noticed that it was in Sochi, Russia. And that rung a bell because that was the same location that Magnus Carlsen and Vishy Anand played in their 2014 World Chess Championship match. And they had some pictures up on the FIDE website, the World Cup website for it. And I have to say, it is a fascinating location for sure. It almost looks like they just carved a piece out of the mountain and stuck this nice resort right there in the middle of it. It looks beautiful, I have to say. Tell me, guys, what you think about the pictures here. They literally just carved the city right into the mountain. Wow. It's beautiful, though. Sochi, Russia. So, going back to the participants for who's going to be playing, we have here Magnus Carlsen, Fabi Caruana, Levan Aronian just came off of that great victory last week. It was either last week or 2 weeks ago, where he crushed all the top players in the rapid event. You can never count out Shaq Mommy. He's always a tough one because he plays so ambitiously. You have the fan favorite Anish Giri because he's always starting mess with Magnus Carlsen on Twitter. So he's a solid contender. You have the up and comer Ali Reza Firouzja. He's the young guy, but he's already playing at such a high level. So it's going to be a great tournament here. I love the World Cup. Oh, I can't forget about one of my favorites, Dmitry Andreikin. I saw him play a long time ago against Kramnik, and that might have even been a World Cup. And he was holding his own. He was holding his own against Kramnik, and he went all the way to, it might have been the finals or semifinals. But I've been a fan of Dmitry Andreikin for ever since then. And if you don't know about his games, look up some of his games. He is a fantastic player. Really good blitz player too. Daniel Dubov, he's a specialist in playing those wild and crazy type of openings. Gets people out of their opening book in theory. And then we have the Americans here, Sam Shanklin, Jeffrey Zong. Jeffrey Zong has come a long way. He's a very, very strong player. Now, you can't sleep on Jeffrey Zong. Let's see who else. So it's a whole host of great players here. I like Anton Korolkova. He's a really interesting player. Some of the openings that he plays, will just be a straight shocker. You would never think to play some of the moves that he plays, and then he winds up winning these games with brilliancies. So you can't sleep on Anton Korolkova if he has a good tournament. All right, so that's some of the participants that's going to be in the tournament this week. I went ahead and took a look at the prize fund as well because I'm always interested in seeing how much the top chess players are making for prize money, and it looks pretty good. The winner's going to make $110,000. Runner-up gets $80,000. So you have a total purse of almost $2 million, $1.89 million for the total prize fund. Winner getting $110,000 of that. It sounds good, but when you do a comparison of some of the other sports that we have in the world, like for example, the British Open is going on right now, and for that, it's just no comparison. I always just shrug my head in disgust because chess players are so undervalued. For the British Open, You know, their purse is going to be $11.5 million for this week for their 4-day tournament. $11.5 million with the winner receiving $2 million. Just for the winner. The winner is going to get $2 million, whereas that's more than the entire prize fund for the chess tournament. So there is such a big discrepancy, and I still claim that whoever is doing the marketing and promotions for chess, they need to step it up. They really do. They need to try to do something to get the market, the exposure out there for chess players, because we're brilliant. We're brilliant, but if no one knows about it, we're not going to have those marketing and advertising dollars coming in, those sponsorships coming in, those endorsements coming in to really bump up these prize funds. So that's enough of my rant. I'll get off of my rant zone there. Let's go ahead and get into some of the games and see what transpired today over the board. Okay, so there was a lot of drama today at the FIDE World Cup. I'll get into it after we go over the game. The featured game for today is white being played by Sasa Martinovic versus, of course, the one and only Magnus Carlsen. And Sasha was white, and he started off with d4. Carlsen responded knight f6, c4, g6. Looks like we could go into a King's Indian or a Grunfeld. Knight c3, and Carlsen plays d5, which is the start of the Grunfeld defense. And if you know anything about the Grunfeld defense, you would know that this opening wants to entice white into having a big center, and then black can go ahead and try to break down that center and use it as a target. So what is normally a strength, having that big center of strength, black wants to use it and turn it into a weakness. So you have c takes d, knight captures, and now you have bishop d2. Main line here is for white to play e4, and then the knight would capture on c3 here, and white would have that big classical center. But instead, Martinovic played bishop d2, which is a good variation. That's the variation that I like to play, actually. c5. Now, this move here by Carlsen is not the main line. The main line here is usually bishop to g7. But what Carlsen is trying to do here, he's trying to attack the center right away, right? And he wants to go ahead and get right to the battle and forego the development first. Rook c1, and now he's adding more pressure to the center. Capture, bishop g7, and now he's striking out with d4, kicks the knight over to knight d4, and now black's position kind of reminds me of like an Alekhines defense, where the knight gets bounced all around the board, and the knight is enticed to do it. Black allows white to do it, so white can again build up a big center and a big pawn storm that can later be used, you know, as a target and a weakness. You have knight f3, castles, a3 kicks the knight, and then you have knight d3 check. So that knight has to be captured because it's attacking the rook as well. So bishop captures, queen d3, and now queen e2. That's the best move there for white, because that queen was kind of like a thorn into the white position. It was preventing white from castling. So it prompts white to go for a queen trade, which is what black wants. Queen captures, king captures. Now you have bishop e6, developing move. Now black is completely developed. Bishop's out. He has the bishop pair, which is an advantage. Rooks are fully connected. Now you have knight d5 here, which is a little bit of a mistake there by Martinovic, because now that allows the bishop on b2 to be captured here. Bishop captures on b2. Rook c2 hits the bishop. And now you have Magnus Carlsen being greedy. Looks like he's being greedy. He's capturing the other pawn on a3. But if you take a look at the position, it kind of looks like his bishop is being trapped. Like, where is his bishop going? Like here, after rook a1, which was played in the game, you know, where can his bishop retreat to? But leave it to Magnus Carlsen. He plays f5 here. Now he's being very, very tactical here. So what happens here, right? If white captures the bishop on a3, then black can capture the pawn on e4, and that will put pressure on both of white's knights, the one on d5 and f3. So it's getting very, very tactical here. And he does that. He captures on a3. Magnus captures the pawn. So now both knights are under attack. Knight captures on e7. Knight captures knight. And so if we just pause here and reassess the position, what do we have? Well, black is up one pawn after all the fireworks, and it's an outside pass pawn. There's a pawn here, so that's very, very dangerous there. Black went from being down one pawn to gobbling up, you know, 2 extra pawns, and now he's up a pawn. That's the tactical prowess of Magnus Carlsen. So now you have knight d4 hits the bishop. Bishop d7. Now you have rook b2, eyeing the pawn on b7 there. That's easily defended by some tactics, some more tactics there. Knight hits the knight there on d4. Bishop defends. Knight captures knight. And now bishop c6. So that easily protects the pawn there on b7. Now you have rook a2, so the rooks are double attacking the pawn on a7. That's easily defended with a6. King e3. With a d8. So right now both players are trying to solidify their positions and find any weaknesses that they can exploit, you know, in their opponent's camp. Rook d2. Rook d5. It looks like Magnus is trying to double on the d file. King e2 here. This is a good move there. That's going to allow white to maybe protect his bishop when Magnus does double. So rook f d8, bishop e3, which is why king e2 was necessary. Rook d3, rook a1, king f7, and now this looks like a little bit of trouble here for white, because once the king gets active, it looks like the king might be marching over into the middle of the board here. There's no reason for the king to be scared. The queens are off the board. But once that king gets active, that's going to be another piece that's going to be attacking that pawn. It's going to be very hard for white to defend that pawn and stop these pawns here from marching up the board. So white is in some trouble here. You have g3, rook captures, bishop b5 check, king e1, rook d3. Carlsen is definitely pushing here. He's strengthening his position and looking for any way that he can break through. If anyone can break through and win these type of in-game, Carlsen. He's probably the best in-game player maybe to ever live, right up there with Capablanca. King e6, there goes the king. The more active that black's king gets, it's going to be harder and harder for white to hold this position. With before it hits the black pawn there, but that's easily defended there. Bishop c6, rook b2, king d5, and in this position right here, white actually resigned because it's going to be a slow death here. Black is just going to infiltrate the position even more with his king, and he's going to be able to escort that a pawn right up the board, and then it's going to be very hard for white to also to defend the c pawn while he's got to try to protect and defend those the a pawn going up the board, and then the b pawn as well. So white throws in the towel right here. You'll see that a lot in the GM games, the title player games. They won't play it all the way out to the end, especially if they kind of know, what's going to happen. They'll go ahead and just throw in the towel. That way they can just save energy and move on to the next round, and they don't have to suffer, basically. So, yeah. So that was the game today. A good game by Magnus Carlsen. He really wasn't tested any. He was pretty dominant tactically throughout the game from the very beginning. He made white have some miscalculations in the middle game and drop some pawns. He actually was sacrificed. Magnus sacrificed the pawn in the early part of the game and wind up winning 2 extra pawns, and he was up a pawn for the majority of the game after that. And then the end game was just a technical victory that he would have won either way. So yeah, so getting to the drama in Sochi. So I was looking forward to watching and covering the Levan Aronian game, but what happened was he's been feeling some feverish symptoms lately. So he decided to forfeit his game today and not play, and to prevent from passing along any type of sickness or illness to his opponent or anyone else. And he just wanted to reassure and recheck and get retested and make sure that he was 100% illness free, which is very, very thoughtful of him to do that. So he forfeited his game today, and if all goes well, if he's feeling better for tomorrow, he'll play in tomorrow's game. So he still has a chance to move on if he wins tomorrow and then goes ahead and wins in the tiebreak the next day. So that was a Levan Aronian, excuse me. And as far as Fabiano Caruana, the number 2 player, I was looking forward to covering his game as well, but during the middle of his game, the FIDE officials actually notified his opponent and him that his opponent had tested positive for COVID. And so that game stopped immediately, right in the middle of play. They stopped and left the playing hall, and they're both being quarantined. And Fabiano, he's going to get retested, and he still has the option of playing out the rest of the tournament as long as his tests come back negative. But it's still a scary situation for him, knowing that he played a whole half a game against someone who's positive for COVID-19. So that's pretty scary there. Hopefully everything turns out to be okay, but it's kind of putting a damper on what the tournament is becoming, because it can turn out really, really bad. This could turn out to be like a super spreader COVID event, especially if more people start turning up testing positive. It can be a really, really bad look. Hopefully Levan Aronian doesn't have COVID. Hopefully he's just having like some cold issues or flu-like symptom issues. Hopefully it's not COVID. That's what we hope. Anyway, we'll see what's in store for us for the next couple of rounds at Sochi at the FIDE World Cup. It's definitely been an eventful day, though. Hope you guys enjoyed the commentary and the game. If you liked, go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment. I'll see y'all next time.